what exactly is version control? Put simply, version control is a system that keeps a record of changes you make to a file. It's a very simple concept, but if you think about it in the scheme of working within a large organization, as I've mentioned before, it's pretty crucial because having a log of you have so many files. So having something log each step in the file makes it so that when multiple people make changes, it's easy to go back and see who's made it and which change you want to keep, which is why it makes collaboration much easier, right? Is what I was mentioning. With like a formal system of seeing people's changes and the meanings behind their changes, and when they make these changes, it's much easier for you to like work through these projects. Also, having some sort of system to record changes allows you to easily revisit previous versions of the system, which is obviously useful if you make mistakes or kind of want to like go back to older editions. So what is Git specifically? Git is a distributed version control system. Distributed contrasts with centralized. Basically, distributed means that there's one central project that hosts like everyone's common code, but then each individual person keeps a copy of it, and including the history on their own. So it's kind of everyone matches to some extent. A good portion of their project matches, and then any changes you make are done locally, and then they're reflected on the remote or common area. So there's other systems, and it's the fact that you have the local part and the remote part that you can work on separately is what kind of distinguishes it from other categories of version control. So other distributed version control systems include Apache Subversion or Perforce. I've only really seen Subversion, and that's only because people have migrated from, like my company that I'm currently working at least, migrated from Subversion to Git. So it's just I'm not really sure what the difference is, but I think Git is probably one of the most common ones that I see nowadays. So that's why it's very useful to keep working with this. All right, so what is GitHub specifically? You want to kind of distinguish Git and GitHub. I think you can probably tell by having to install them in two different places. But if you haven't set up a GitHub account, you should probably set one up right now. But basically, it's a separate platform for hosting Git repositories remotely. So it'll be on their own servers as opposed to on your computer. There's another one called like GitLab, and there are other hosting services, but I'd say a lot of people use like GitHub, and I personally use it. So like that's why we're going to go into details about GitHub, but just know that this is kind of what it is, right? So with GitHub, hosting it online allows you to collaborate on projects with just about anyone, because as long as you have an internet connection, you can, download their repository, their project, and work on it with that person, right? And also they have some additional like UI components on top of it. All right, any questions so far? I see some people have been like talking about some of the things I've mentioned. All right, sounds good. I guess I'll move on here. If anyone else still has any questions, we have some people here to like respond to you. So feel free to keep asking, and they'll write something out, and they'll respond to you. Okay, so now we'll talk about some, before we go into anything, we'll talk about some basic Unix commands. So like with Git comes like Unix slash bash slash Linux. I guess they're often tied together because they often come together as like a group of concepts. So like Unix is a set of, I guess it's kind of it's a little weird, but basically concerning Git specifically, there's like a set of commands that correspond with Unix and this command line interpreter that is like Bash. And so Bash has like its own language that corresponds with it. And within that are a set of commands right here, which are cd, which is change current working directory, rm, which unlinks / removes a file from the directory, make dir, which is just makes a directory. Like these are, I think they're pretty intuitive with the exception of touch, which creates a file, but I guess from a glance, you wouldn't really see that. It does some stuff on the side, like that makes it create a file, but in essence, you use it to generally create a file. Something we'll be using, and the default one by tradition in terms of a text editor is Vim, which you can access through your, it updates the file's timestamp basically. And then I guess in the process of doing so, you create a file if it doesn't exist before, right? Yeah. So Vim is a text editor. There's a lot that you can do with it, but like, because it's included oftentimes, Vim or Vi, included with like a shell, and it's really easy to like access and then leave. It's often what you use, just like traditionally it's been what's often used with Git, I guess, or with like bash shells in general. So I guess this is what we'll be using. Git for Windows comes with Vim. So yeah. Now to access like files with Vim, use Vim file name. And so if the file doesn't exist and you write something, the file will be created. If not, the file won't be created. So you can always do that. We'll talk about like Vim specific commands later when we use Vim. So yeah. All right, now what exactly is a repository? Put simply, like a repository is like a folder that contains your project code and like revision history with that code. So there are like two aspects to a repository. And there are like many types of repositories. So the repository, like a regular full repository, consists of the .git folder in your project, which tracks all the changes, all your commits, like your whole commit history, right? And also like contains the working tree, which is just all your files. Whereas if you have like a bare repository, which is it's just the .git file, and that's kind of what's on your remote. And so basically, it's just the key component is the .git folder, because this is kind of quintessential to your whole system of tracking different changes, right? This repository can be owned by you individually, or it can be shared, remote, or it can be shared with others. Generally, if it's on your local, you're not really sharing it with others because nobody else has access. But like if it's, like I said, if it's remote, you can share and collaborate with others. And so yeah, as I've mentioned, if it's local, it's generally like stored on the computer as opposed to on some server somewhere else. So some commands, git init will initialize a new repository within your area, and then git clone, which clones a pre-existing repository from like your specific URL. So now is a good time. Now we'll just run a quick exercise to clone clone the repo that corresponds with this workshop. Now just give that a go. They have, when you go to the website, they'll have like something to help you do it. So I'll just set like a minute or so to do this. I'll be showing the code afterwards, just in case you're not able to like do it, or you need just to show everyone at the end what you need to do. This one should be a quick one. It's basically one line. I don't think you'll really need Git in it because you're just copying one. So yeah, so I'll just do this right now. So here I'm in just a directory, just in my programming directory. Don't mind this. This is just like an extra additional thing that I use for something different. Generally, it'll just be like, name at computer. For Windows, it'll have your, I guess it's your Unix emulator, and then you have this, which is your current directory, home. It's your current path, like the path to your directory. So it'll be kind of simple for this one. I'll just go find the link. Okay. So I am for convenience, I use SSH, but I think a lot of people just use HTTPS. It's just I don't know. I don't have to provide a password that way, so this is the link that I'll have, and then just kind of simply clone it right here. All right. So now you can see it's here, and then you can go into it, and now you see we're on the master branch, which is generally the default branch now. There have been some changes recently where, due to like terminology, places are favoring main as opposed to master. But for now, I guess Git by default still keeps master, whereas GitHub like recommends use main, and there's like instructions for you to change it. Just something to know in terms of terminology for the default branch. So yeah. All right, moving on. So here's obviously the answer. As you can see, it uses HTTPS as opposed to SSH. These are like just two different like protocols. So now a branch. So a branch is an environment for like trying out different features or ideas for your project. By default, you start with your master or main branch. Like you'll always have at least one branch in your Git repo. So on these branches, you can make like changes, like make commits, like add changes, and just play around with stuff on your branch without affecting other branches. They're like standalone paths for you to modify. And so in the process, you're able to work on like many different things at once. So say you have like, you're working on this like web page, right? This website, sorry. And you have like your home page, you have your about page, contact us page, and you want like different people to work on it at the same time, right? Or you just want to you want your website and that page, since you're going to be working on those at different points in time. So by creating branches called like, homepage, about, contact us, you'll be starting from your like main page and your main website, and you'd be branching off with the exact same code. But the difference is any modifications you make working towards creating your about page will stand alone, so that your main code will not be affected. Obviously, you can see that in a larger organization, if you have many people and they branch off, it's really good, since you have your main product on one branch, and then you have everyone like working around it, and then you just merge your changes, or you like combine your changes later, right? We'll talk about merging later, obviously. So to create a branch, you do git branch and then the branch name, and that just creates a branch. To switch to a branch, you do git checkout and then branch name. To like create and switch to one, you just do git checkout -b. And this is the first time you'll see something with a hyphen in it. The hyphen is just like hyphen letter is a flag, and some of these just comes down to like remembering them. because they're not always the most intuitive. But basically, you'll find them in the docs. They correspond to like different. Yes, this is being recorded, so don't worry about it. I'd assume. Yeah. In any case, so once you, so yeah, basically going back to flags or options, each one corresponds to some different like different aspect corresponding to this like concept. So like if you're branching and you want to like delete something, you use -d. If you check out and you want to do something, because you're in the process of checking out, right? But you're additionally doing something else. So I mean, you're dealing with checking out. So oftentimes the flags are just additional, like additional features added on to this main like topic. So yeah, that corresponds with a command, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's like blurry, but in any case, you just kind of have to follow the documentation for that. Um, Generally, it's like, it's okay. All right, so to delete a branch, you just do git branch -d and then branch name, and it will not delete if there are like unmerged changes. So like, and we'll talk about merging later. So then finally, there's also git branch -m, and then you have two parameters. You have your old name and your new name. So now I recommend you to, if you, to create your own branch on the repo that you just cloned, and call your branch your name underscore workshop. I'll just give everyone a minute to do that. A minute or two. All right. So yeah, I'll just move on to this now. So here you can either do git checkout -b, or I'll just let that go away. It's git branch and git checkout. So I'll just quickly do that right now. So now I've switched, and then if you do git branch, you can see that I am currently on my branch with the master there as well. So moving on. So what is a commit? Oh, someone has an issue. This is warning, says permission denied. Okay. So let me see if I have you currently. One second here. You need to be a collaborator to do that. And I think I added you, but you might have to accept it first. Let's see. Oh, you are a collaborator. Did you use the, one second here. Let's see. Use the HTTPS one, right? Has anyone else had this issue where they have permission denied when they want to clone the branch? I mean, clone the repo? Well, I have you added as a collaborator. So you should be able to. I think this is something to do with credentials. Oh, let's see. Let me think about this. Are you guys on Mac or? Like, does anyone who has it, like, are they on Mac or Windows? I haven't used Mac in a while, so it's a bit hard for me to help with that. I think at the end I can try to help you out, I guess. But for now, you still have, like, this is going to be recorded, so I should probably just keep going. But I will help you. I'll help you through it afterwards, hopefully. Or since everyone's kind of added, like, I have some other people here to help out, so they should be able to get you through this. So yeah, join the breakout room if you have issues with that. I'll just make sure that I have you guys added because I'm the only one who's able to make modifications to whoever's collaborating. Oh yeah, Yiheng, I think you have to accept the invite because if I just show this right now, this is still awaiting response. So I think before you even do that, you should probably join because otherwise you can't make any. I mean, you're cloning it, so I don't think that should be an issue per se. But like, just do that beforehand, just in case. You're not going to be making modifications if you clone it, so I don't think that should be an issue. Anyway, I'll move on for now. So yeah, commits. So a commit is just a snapshot of your project state. So at that point in time, it'll be, you'll have file X and file Y with this and this stuff inside. And then if you have like a previous commit, right? If you can kind of see how they build. So it's like you have different states. At different like states, you have like what it looks like, and it tracks this. So some other terminology: tracked versus untracked files. So tracked files are ones that have been part of your snapshot. You have to make sure with Git, you have to specify which files you want to include in snapshots or commits. So that's why they're termed as tracked, whereas any other file that's in your directory is untracked. So to like specify what you want in your commit, there's something called a staging area. And this is used to distinguish these files that you want to be committing, right? As a side note, something that's kind of within this topic of tracked and untracked files is a .gitignore file. The dot will kind of hide it, and then it's just a gitignore. But basically, what this does is there are generally certain large files that you want to keep like personally, but you don't want to. You often that are like common, right? Because you're sharing it with other people. So like oftentimes it'll be named the same thing. So what will happen is you want to ignore. Sometimes you just want to like automatically not include it in any of your commits because there are some options to adding to the staging area where you're able to just add everything. And sometimes to make things easy, because you have so many files, you just don't want to like commit those ones specifically. You want to keep it so that anything in your tracked, anything that you're keeping track of right now is something that you might want to add to the track. Because like otherwise, if you want to ignore it all the time, you shouldn't even need to see it. So it'll just be ignored. An example is if you've worked with Node before, which is like a backend thing. There's like Node modules, and generally you kind of ignore that because it's this huge folder of just different modules that you want, but you're only locally you're using it. for yourself. So you just want to ignore that. You don't want to have it in your Git repo. All right, moving on. Oh, whoops. All right, so some commands that correspond with working with committing. So first is git status or git status. And what this does is it displays the state of the working directory, or all your folder, your directory, and also a staging area and your staging area. So it'll put those right next to each other. I can do this right now, I guess. If I were to just like do this right now, there's nothing. If I were to quickly just like create a quick file, you'll see that you have your untracked files here. Because it's been created for the first time, it's just any other file. It's not included in any previous snapshots. So you have your text.txt as an untracked file. And let me just close that. And so any modifications you make, you do git add and then the file name. And as I've mentioned, there are some other things you can do. So if you want to add all of them, it's like git add -all. And like if you want to add only the ones that are tracked, you do git add -u. And so yeah, there are different options you can add to it to make your life. You can make like specific examples or specific like conditions where you want to like do a certain set of files. These are modifications. Now, if you've removed a file, then you want to do like git rm. So, and then what this does is it'll add the removal of files, because it's just, this is like any modifications you make, but then if you're removing in general, right, you just remove it. Okay, so to unstage a staged file, you do git restore. Git restore. So just as an example, you can see here, if I git add this right now, you'll see it's there. And then if you git restore it, and you do this again, -- staged, sorry, it'll do this. It'll go back. All right. So once this is done, once you've added it, all right, I'll just do this again. Once you have it here, you want to commit your staged file with a short, you want to commit it, right? And often with commits, because you have so many snapshots, right? Or so many commits, you want to add a message, like a brief message to say what you've done. So you do git commit -m and then your one-line message. And basically that will show up in any like past commits that you've made here. So he says like delete file, add file, or something. And as you can see here, the message is conventionally in imperative mood. So like add file. Because if you think about it in terms of what each commit is doing, it's like it's making these changes whenever you go on to this new commit. So when you move from this commit to the other, it'll add this file, or it'll delete this file. So that's kind of what they had in mind when they came up with this convention. So there's also a more flexible way to do it, which is git commit. And what this will do is this will pull up your text editor that corresponds with Git, and it's by default Vim. So the first 50 characters in the header will be the header, and the rest will be the body. So this is generally corresponding, like when you have summaries somewhere, it'll correspond with the header, and then you'll have additional parts. So if you have like a larger, like if you have more to talk about, you generally use that as well. So now as an exercise, create a text file containing your name, the name of your favorite movie, and then commit it with a meaningful commit message. You can make it short. So yeah. Oh, actually, I should probably walk you through using Vim if that's your thing. So first, oh wait, I just have to exit out of there. So first, I guess I'll go into text.txt. So when you Vim, it'll pull up this thing. It's not the greatest looking thing, but this is, you're in your Vim editor right now, and it's within your terminal, right? So right away, it'll put you in edit mode, which is, if you're using a text editor, that's kind of what you have, right? You can, oh, wait. So actually, no, it'll put you in normal mode, sorry. Yeah. So the difference between Vim and other text editors are the different modes that you can switch in between. Because what this does is it allows you to have like so many different shortcuts that are linked to like single characters. I mean, single keys on your keyboard. Because otherwise, if you're always editing your file, you can never just, you'll type something in instead of making that shortcut. Like, normally you'd have to use some elaborate sequence of keys to do one specific thing. But here, if you just want to like say, like, so here I've pressed I to insert to go into edit mode, and then you just like type something in, right? And then you can just press DD and it'll like delete one line, which is kind of useful, if you're deleting a bunch of lines, right? So these kinds of short bursts of these short things that you can do by just pressing on a key or two is like, that's kind of the big thing about productivity increases with Vim. But it's a learning curve because there's so many shortcuts. Anyway, for now, the one you'll probably use is I, which inserts. It goes into edit mode, and then you just type in like movie, and then press escape to leave edit mode. And now to leave Vim, like this is the hard thing that'll happen if you don't know how to use Vim, and you're, oh my god, you're stuck. I have to click out. Nah, just press colon. W is for saving, and then Q, which is for exiting. So if you hadn't typed anything out, if you hadn't made any changes, you can just leave with colon Q. But if you've made some changes, I mean, regardless of even if you make changes, the W will just save. So then you'll leave. And this just kind of, if you check it again, this will show that like this is within the file. That's kind of what's in it now. So now you should try and do this yourself. Give everyone like 2 minutes, I guess, this time, because there's a lot more. Yeah, I think make sure to, I'd say make a custom. Yeah, I think I should have. It's you should try making it on a custom branch, and that'll be cool because then you'll be able to see the changes you've made once you want to like merge onto the master. And I'll be talking about like the process of merging or combining your code. Definitely try that. All right. Oh, I should probably have not covered all the commands here, just in case. I'll actually give you another like 30 or so seconds. All right. So I've kind of walked through this part. So now you just git add. This, you don't have to worry about this if you're on Windows. It's just kind of a Windows Linux thing with having different like \/ type thing. There's like a bunch of differences, right? In terms of what shows up. So like you don't have to worry about that. And there's also like differences in like text editors. There's a bunch of differences, obviously, because you're in Windows as opposed to like Linux or Unix based stuff like Mac as well. All right. So once you've done that, you just git commit. Oh, whoops. And on your local, it'll make a new commit. And so if you check, well, I've done this just now, but you can see that here I've add my favorite movie as I've done here. So yeah, pretty nifty. All right. So now that this has been done, you want to push. What pushing is you're uploading the content of your local repository onto your remote. So, oh, okay. So if you're having issues with committing, it's possible that since it's your first time, you're gonna have to set your author name and your email. So I think it's, let me just remember this. It should be git config or something related to this because it's yeah, you generally do this when it's your first time. It's been a little while, so I will make sure to do this for you. Okay, so what you do is you do git config -- global. So generally your config corresponds with like your .git, your just git. So if it's local, it'll be just your, if you do git config without this global flag, then it'll just correspond with your current repository. And then if it's your global config, it'll be global, right? So yeah, user.name, and then you would want to make sure to enclose these in double quotes because it's a string. It's like a longer value. Then you just do Matthew Wang in my case. And that's that. So if you check, and then if you want, you could check git config. Oops. If you do this, you'll see, okay, that's your username now. And then for your email, you just do user.email. And then in this case, it'll be one thing. So you don't have to like delimit it with commas. I mean, sorry, commas, double quotes. So here, oh, whoops, that is not right. Make sure to put an actual email. It shouldn't really make a difference for, I don't remember. But yeah, I'd say to be safe, put your email that corresponds with like making GitHub changes. But generally, yeah, because right now I use SSH and I've set it up so that I have a key so that I don't actually have to do any sort of typing in passwords whenever I push. Because if you use HTTP like regularly, when you push to your remote, you're gonna have to like type in your password or whatever. So it's kind of laziness. Out of laziness, I kind of do this. Anyway, so now that this has been done, you're gonna have to set up your upstream. When you're pushing for the first time, you need your remote URL. And so what origin is it's kind of your remote URL. It's the standard naming for your remote URL. And so when it's cloned, it's kind of set as that. You do -u, git push -u origin, and then the branch name. So I guess in this case, because it doesn't exist right now, it'll like make it for me. So you just do that. And then it should do this. It'll create a pull request. And it'll set up a new branch. It'll prompt you to type in your password if you're on regular like HTTP. And well, hopefully, you just type in your password. It'll be good. So yeah, moving on. Now we'll talk about pull requests now. So basically, it's a way to submit your work on your remote. And so a pull request, so it'll list out the changes you make on your branch when you want to merge to somewhere else. Wait, honestly, pull requests are pretty, I guess they're pretty global. I should, whatever. I think I'll move on from that. Basically, it's kind of commonplace for you to submit your work this way. So yeah, it allows discussion of changes you made when working on a team, right? So when you're on a big team and you're making these different changes to something, obviously you yourself might make mistakes. Everyone's kind of imperfect, but as a group, when you like have reviews over your work, it'll ultimately just get better, right? Other opinions can always be helpful. Then together you'll make like a more polished product. So like a core aspect of software engineering on a team is having code review like very often so that you can make quick changes. And this is what a pull request enables you to do. So you can make changes, commit again, and then like add the new commits to the same pull request, and it'll just show up, and you can have discussions over like different lines of code. So when you make a pull request, it'll generally have like a default name, but if you want to make but you can like change that, and you can add comments. More description can always make things better. I'd say, as long as it's relatively meaningful. And then once it's approved, the changes are merged and the PR is closed. You'll generally you can just delete your branch. So now that this has been done, I will go on to GitHub and quickly check for pushes. All right. So I have recently 3 minutes ago, I've made like a pull request. So you can merge this, right? All right, so let's just, if you go here, what this does is it'll make because I made a branch now, right? And you can see it on the remote. So it looks like someone else has as well. And it's one commit ahead of the master. So if you want to make a pull request, you can do compare and pull request, or it'll be here. And then you just click on this. See, it says you're able to merge. Because obviously, if you have your master and you have your huge product, this big, or if you're on a smaller team and you have your polished product that you don't want to really touch, then you want to make sure that your code is vetted before it goes in, right? So here it is, create pull request. Oftentimes when you have more than one commit, I'm pretty sure it'll say merging branch to base branch. But here it just says that one commit I've made. And so now when you're here, it'll show the commits. You can check the files that you've changed. So here it's green when it's like an addition. It'll be red when you move something away, when you remove something. And then you can post comments and stuff. And then so here you see you need review, and you can merge after you've made when someone has approved your merge. So here, if I want to add a comment, just type in something wow, this is a good movie. And so then here you'll see it show up concerning this specific line. And then you can like respond to that and everything. All right. So now I'd say submit a PR for the commit you've made. Like your separate branch, I guess. Take your branch, add something there, and then submit a PR from your branch. That's kind of the exercise for you. I'll go through it in like a minute or so. All right. I'll go through and check for people's PRs right now. So yeah. Basically what a PR does is like basically what you'll be doing here with merge. Okay, it looks like someone else can look through some PRs for me, so they can do that. So what it'll be doing on this remote repository is it'll be taking the other branches and combining like the different commits that they've made onto yours as an additional commit. Any of the changes that have been made to the files. So and obviously you would see like a potential issue, right, with this. So say you have file A, it's called main.txt, and you've written something in there. You've written your code, your starter code, but then person A like makes a modification to it, and person B makes a modification to it. Person A gets the information like when the main polished project has been updated by person A, and then it gets pulled in and you merge, you'll see that you have different code now, right? So when you have multiple people working together, oftentimes you might have changes that like overlap. So Git like recognizes this, and while merging, it'll stop and tell you to fix the merge. To handle this, you can use the command line, and you can generate like files, or you can like oftentimes I personally use my text editor, which is not Vim, but I guess for the sake of this, I'll go through Vim and do it. So yeah, you edit it and you decide which ones you want. So right now, I guess you have your README. Both of them have the READMEs, right? So I'll just kind of go into here and then just quickly say make this change, and then oh wait, go back to this. You have to commit. It's after making commits. You make this commit, and then all right, and then yeah, there is a vim command where you can just make a new line. I don't remember it though, so this will suffice. So make this change, and then if you're gonna if you merge your master into here, it won't, when you merge, you won't necessarily, the command is O. Yeah, something. Yeah, for Vim, I guess, just to remember, I guess. You do this and it'll make a new line. You know, that's kind of easy. Good things to know. So when that is done, add it, make the commit, and then, so when you merge, you won't necessarily delete a branch. You can't, with PRs, you won't even necessarily delete either, but they give you an option to, and generally you will because you're kind of done with the branch. So oftentimes when you're updating, you just git merge master, and you're updating your branch based on changes to like the overall. You do this. So now you have a conflict, right? Oh no. So in here you see that there's the head, and there's also, it's like what's here right now and what's coming in. So then you make modifications here. So if you want to keep hello, you just clean that out, and then you just do git commit. Oh wait, sorry. You have to add it first, and then you have to commit. And so you'll come to here, right? And you just, it'll, by default, it'll say merge branch into master, into this. You just do, you just leave, because generally that's kind of enough. If you want to add more, you can always do more. That's what I was talking about in terms of a flexible name. So then you're done merging, and that's kind of it. Merged. Oh, I guess for an exercise, try it out yourselves. It'll take a little while though, so I think I'll just move on. All right. Actually, I think one thing that I forgot to mention is like pulling. So anytime you have modifications to your, like, to anything else and you want to update yourself, I feel like we mentioned this at some point, but I think we removed it. Anyway, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, because this is like pretty useful as well. Let's see. So she's merged, and there's a bunch of changes here now. So any updates that have been made, you want to like pull it in, right? So now you just do, and whenever you, okay, so there are two ways. One that I generally use because, I don't know, I'm kind of like that. It's the forceful update. Just git pull. And then, so, or normally when you're on a branch, you just go here. You git pull origin master. When you initially do it, you do git pull origin master, where origin's your remote URL, and then master's your branch. Now, it'll merge, and that's good. sometimes if you have files that you've made modifications to, and then like generally you want to pull before making any changes. Pull and then merge from master when you're making changes before like making a PR, because like you want the most up-to-date content, right? You don't want people to have old content. So this is kind of really important for you. And so definitely make sure to do that. And if there's any difference between a single file, you'll have a merge conflict as well when you pull. Git fetch is another one that I don't really use too often, but it's good to be safe. And what it does is it puts it on like a separate branch, and you can like take a look at it, and then you can merge it in. So that's kind of a safer than just straight up pushing, like making a merge happen automatically, you know. But sometimes people don't have time for that, so they play it, play it dangerous. All right, so the last thing that we're going to do, given all this, is host your own website on GitHub. So it's basically the same thing. It's pretty easy. You initialize a new repo like locally, and you also create your own repository on GitHub, and you name it your GitHub username.github.io. It has to be specifically this for it to work. And then you add your files. Like if you've worked with it before, I think index.html will often be your base. In your top level directory will kind of be your homepage. And then you just kind of add files and you commit your work. And then you'll just, like, your website will work out. I've done it already, so my web page is up, but like you can always find it as well. And this will kind of be your, in the end, after working with Git, this is kind of what you'll have. This is like this big product that you're able to work on like really easily. So yeah, if you want to make your own page, I think a lot of people use the .github.io for their own personal page. So definitely take advantage of that because it's free. All right. In terms of learning other stuff, there are so many resources out there. There are these links. Atlassian has a lot of good resources in terms of very specific stuff. Obviously, there's the documentation as well. I didn't put it here, but when you went to download, like anytime you look up like a Git command, the documentation will be the first thing that comes up. So if you want to look for all the options and stuff, go there. Documentation is your friend with a lot of software, but sometimes it's like kind of difficult to read when you don't know stuff, but it'll have all the details. So definitely make sure to go to there sometimes. And then if you're a student, there's the education pack on GitHub, and you'll get GitHub Pro, and you can do stuff for like private repositories and stuff. It's pretty nice. So at this point in time, does anyone have any questions? I can quickly show my website, which has nothing on it. It just says hello world. Feel free to type in the chat. If not, thanks everyone for coming. I hope you learned a lot today. There's a lot to get. It can get messy, especially when you mess around with the commit history, and then you're just like going down this whole rabbit hole of trying to fix your stuff. There's a lot of advanced stuff you can do with it, but yeah, there's a lot to get. So thanks a lot for coming. See you guys at other workshops.